for the last 24 hours, I won't say I've kind of been obsessive, but it's been on my mind, this GoFundMe page here for the Navajo and Hopi families COVID-19 relief fund. This is current, this is happening in 2020 right now. It's happening. And you can donate money, as you can see over here. Lots of people are donating. But specifically, I guess I'm talking to people who are Irish or have ancestors who are Irish, or you're a descendant of Irish ancestors, or you used to have family who lived in Ireland at once upon a time. Why this particular page is important to you. So once upon a time, Ireland went through the Great Famine. And kind of like now, there's pestilence and disease and famine, all these really the great evils of the world that peek their heads up every now and again. But of course, it's all over the world. Famines can pop up here and there and are still happening in the world today. It's terrible stuff, and it doesn't get the coverage that it needs. But Ireland, you might think, a nice modern country. But once upon a time, we were starving, we were oppressed by the British Empire, imperialism. They didn't care for us, less than trash. They came over, took our land, threw us off it, and across the sea, in around 1847, the Choctaw Nation, they were going through they were being thrown off land as well. Basically, the same story was happening to them, and we both share that tribal nature and that tribal history. And they were going through the Trail of Tears, which is, a monumental thing in their history. But even after all the devastation they suffered, they decided that they would take pity on the Irish who they had heard about, and they raised money. So they raised $170 or thereabouts, under 200, and it's worth quite a lot today, about 5,000. And for people that you'd never met before, they sent this money, and it would have had a significant impact. Now, Ireland's a small country. Once upon a time, there was 8 million people. Were on the island of Ireland about 6 million, in the Republic of Ireland about 4.5 million people thereabouts. So it's just incredible that the generosity to send money to people you've never met before. It's a story that someone's told you about, but you see yourself in it. So what I'm trying to get to the point of this message, of this video, and you'll have to excuse me, it's the middle of the night. I got up and I was just like, I was thinking about this. I just had to do something, say something about it. Not good to live inside your head, So you can go onto this GoFundMe page. Normally GoFundMe, I go there to back interesting innovations, comic books, stuff I'd like to see happen. And this is what I'd like to see happen. Anyone who is Irish owes a blood debt to these people to go on here on this page and give money any way you can. And if you can't give money, spread the word. Word of mouth is as valuable as coin. I know that. Everyone knows that. So that's one thing. And you can see they're doing updates like any pages, so things are moving on the ground. And you have all these messages from people here as well. A great bunch of that is a Father Ted reference, actually. The Irish pay our debts. Pay your debts, Game of Thrones reference, I think. Solidarity. I mean, I've been watching these messages. I've been refreshing the page like a maniac. Like, whatever about the money going up, that's a nice sum amount of money to do something solid there. People from the Navajo, they have water problems. Something I didn't know, but they're out in deserts and things. It's hard to imagine people having water problems in Ireland because it pisses rain all the time from the sky. But people are having problems getting access to water. Obviously, food is hard to travel to make those distances. A lot of their older folk, like everywhere else in the world, are are being literally devastated and dying from this fucking disease that's screwing the world up. And if you want to help, if you have €5, $5, that'll buy you some water in a shop, won't it? It'll buy you some bread. It will make a sandwich. It'll buy you that banana there. Small amounts mean a lot. Word of mouth means a lot. If you can do something, do it. As again, I've been moved to move out of my bloody bed and do something. I donated this morning. When I woke up this morning and I just saw it, and I was like, I didn't have to think about it. I was like, yeah, I owe a debt. I owe blood debt. It was like something inside the tradition of being an Irish person, and the songs and the folk, the oral tradition that's passed down. We're taught about this in school. We're taught, it's a lot of misery when you're not on the winning side of history. It's a lot of losing battles, and then these guys took advantage of you, and then they chucked you off, and then you were treated like trash, and they took your land, and they took your language, and your rights, whatever rights you thought you might have or your people might have, they took them too. So it's incredible to see all these Irish people who feel the same way. It goes on and on and on. Thoughts with you, 1847, the year it all began, deadly pains of hunger drove 1 million from the land. That's a Christy Moore song called The City of Chicago. This here, that's down in Cork. This is a monument, and you can go see this. It's feathers. They're all individual feathers, and it's really something. It looks quite light, but it's actually metal. So they're all individual feathers, and it's the circle that makes a bowl for nourishment. That's some symbol of nourishment. It's really something. This isn't like a very, my thought process isn't very coherent on it right now, because it shouldn't be smash cuts in this video. I hope it won't be smash cuts in this video, but I just wanted to share some thoughts. It's not my usual type of video that I do either, or more pop culture related, but it really struck a chord with me, all of this. Ireland hasn't forgotten your generosity during our darkest hour. Yeah, it's when you have nothing and people who had nothing, and you give something to those who had less than nothing. That's a friend. That's a real friend, and you don't forget that. If you it's 173 years, less than 200, coming up on 200, and those oral traditions of suffering and pain and real emotional engagement through generations has brought us to have this page here. And I know there's political acknowledgements, like on St. Patrick's Day, maybe every year, every other year, but it's when these things strike again and you can do something about it. Now you can. You couldn't do something about your ancestors suffering in the Great Famine, and if you were there, you were probably broke. If you have anything that can make a difference, that can help. And it's not charity, it's a blood debt. You might not be here because one of your ancestors was given maize or corn from a workhouse that was funded by the money that was donated long ago. Your family, your ancestors could have been on the edge of debt. Right? That's the truth. That's the same. The real simplicity is life and death that I'm talking about. We're talking about the royal we. But get given, and get given bloody hard. Because now's the time to do it. History has its eyes on you right now, and you don't want to be sitting back years from now going, oh gosh, wish I had something in mind to do, or somewhere to donate. We're all donating PPE and all this in all our countries, and trying to do what we can, because you're going mad sitting at home. You've watched all of Netflix, and you've read that book you said you'd read, and you're watching the news and the news doesn't look great. There's lockdowns and restrictions, and then there's the Donald Trump news. That's a separate thing altogether. But the Kindred Spirit Monument is what it's called, the Feather Monument. And I remember, look at all these messages. I mean, I wish I had time to read them all to you. I really did. I wish there'd be some sort of archive for all of these messages, because some of them are just they're emotional stuff to read. We haven't forgotten you. The Trail of Tears, and some of them are quite short, but they're, you can say a few words and people know. If you know the history, you know some bit long stuff. Proud to hear we do not forget our friends. Yeah, as I was saying earlier, friends who gave to you in a time when no one else in the world was putting their hand in the pocket to give to Ireland. Plenty of, and we're right next to Europe. We're right next to France and the UK and Germany, or whatever Germany's called at that point in history. All these nice nations. Not many of them did much for Ireland, and that's the way it can be when you're the small guy. You see it that way, but you remember who looks after you. You remember who had your back, and generations down the line, when you can do something and you're a bit bigger, you've got a bit more influence now. You've got a bit more money. You can swing around and help people who helped you. That's, one good turn deserves another. A favour returned from Ireland. We don't forget. Inspired by the generosity of the Irish and disgusted that my country continues to fail these people. Yeah, there's some frustrated Americans. I've read that as well today. The federal government is writing checks out, so far as I understand, and they're not on top of it. I mean, few countries are on top of it, but it's the little guys at the bottom that get squished. What about, I know the federal government hasn't been interested in helping the natives, the real Americans. It's funny how they come over and take your land, and then when they've everything set up, they say, oh, you got to come in here legally. Right, to the immigrants. They tell the immigrants, oh, you got to come through the natural way, the lawful way, the laws that we set up. It's funny when you win everything in history and take from that, and then you can make your own rules. It's funny how that works, isn't it? But that's imperialism for you. But I see myself in these people as they saw in us many years ago. The tribalism, our culture, the language, the music, that brings us to this day right now when we're in trouble and you can do something about it. From Ireland love, repaying a favour. Look at these messages. I mean, it's phenomenal, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but I've been watching this drip in kind of all day. I watch something and then I'd refresh the page every hour or so, and I'd read some more messages, because it's just something you don't read every day. And maybe we should have done this earlier. Maybe we should have reached out our hands. And I know there's programs you can get a scholarship, if you're Navajo or Hopi people, to UCC and things like this. And it's all cost paid, actually. You should look that up if you're interested in it. I think it's 10 grand. I don't say it's spending money, but for expenses. And the courses are paid for. So, look, they're very good colleges and universities, I should say, actually. Very good. Some of the best in Europe. Some of the best lecturers here. And English speaking. So, if you're into that kind of thing. That's just a side thing that just comes into my mind. But that's all I'm saying, is stuff that comes into mind at this hour of the night. So, you'll have to excuse me. But, look, if you can give, do give to this. So many people donate, and you can be one of those people who, if you want to do your ancestors proud, and think about them for a moment, when they're being told of someone across the sea who cared for them, and they're like, oh, I wonder who these guys are. Will I ever get the chance to repay this kindness? When you're starving and you're on the edge of death, you can do that for them. You can be the one who says thank you. By just a little bit. Give what you can, as they always say. It's not I didn't see it as charity. I saw it as the right thing to do. That instinct inside of me said, yeah, you owe something here. And you don't always feel that way in 21st century. Hey, well, who owes anything to anyone? We're all for ourselves, right? But blood memories, blood debts, Irish ancestry, we know where we've come from. And you have to do something. If you can do something, do something. I must have said that a few times now. You're probably sick. You probably clicked away from the video already. You said, this guy, got it. I'm going to leave a link down in the video below to this page and to the YouTube video that they put up as well, which is also on this page as well. Yeah, I guess you can't miss it. It's at the top. But they're doing some great work. They're putting together some packages for their people, all the vital stuff, and they're bringing them far distances, far and few between. And it's old. If you can help, by God, help, and give what you can.